Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Steven Universe, which we'll be getting into right now. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Beatriz Mourad.
Hello.
Alex Bonilla.
Hola.
And special guest K-K Bracken.
Hello.
K-K is an organizer of Beach City Con, which we'll give some more information about in a little bit. But this podcast, we're going to be talking once again about Can't Go Back and A Single Pale Rose, our fourth podcast on these episodes. Still have a large outline we're trying to work through here with this huge episodes, huge reveals. Make sure you've checked them out. Spoilers for the episodes, of course. Find our previous podcasts on these and just Steven Universe in general at overlyanimated.com, or search for Overly Animated Steven Universe on iTunes. Subscribe there, or on YouTube if you're listening there, to not miss future Steven Universe podcasts. Don't have to listen to the previous three ones to listen to this one, although we'll be referencing some things from them. Yeah, we're gonna get into these episodes, but first we have KK here, who's going to stick around for our discussion as well, which is very exciting. She's an organizer of Beach City Con, Steven Universe fan convention, which is coming up this year. So KK, what do you have to tell us about Beach City Con?
Well, I'm mostly excited to announce that our special guest this year is going to be Grace Rolek, which is pretty cool. Connie Maheshwaran, if you don't know that by because you're not as obsessed with Steven Universe as I am, I guess.
They are.
That is not true.
I don't think that's the problem with y'all, but maybe some of the fans wouldn't know her by name. The con itself is October 12th to 14th, and it's at Virginia Beach, specifically the Virginia Beach Resort Hotel and Conference Center. Of course, you can find all this information on beachcitycon.com. Regular weekend passes are $75 for the full weekend, and you can get $5 off with with Overly Animated's code OVA if you are interested. And ticket prices do actually go up in a month, so it's a good time to think about it. It's our second year. We had our first year in October of 2017 after a successful Kickstarter, I'm glad that happened successfully since Universal Fan Con was such a flop this year with Kickstarter. We had AJ Michalka, who is Savani, and Kimberly Brooks, who is Jasper, come through last year, which was pretty cool. And it's just a really small little fan convention, labor of love, nonprofit, totally fan run. By fan, I mean me. And it was a really, really wonderful time last year, and I can't wait to do it again this year.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds very fun. What are some things that listeners who either haven't been to conventions before in general, or just not Beach City Con before, could expect if they would head out there this year?
Yeah, so the idea is that, you give us your hard-earned money, and we provide for you 3 to 4 days of entertainment. So we have a full schedule full of panels that are ranging from podcasts such as yourself, just hosting discussions, to Q&As with the special guests, to cosplay panels. We had a dance panel last year, we learned to dance like the Gems fusion dance class. That was fun. Face painting, a vendor's room. But honestly, I am the kind of convention goer who prefers to just kind of hang out and be around other fans. And I think, Beach City Con is the size that it's very possible to sort of select a la carte menu of your convention experience. If you're the kind of person who wants to go to every panel, you totally can. If you're the kind of person who just wants to hang out with your friends and play ukulele in the hallways with jam and toast, which someone did last year, that's totally allowed too. So yeah, it's and we always do on-site lodging too, which is good for a couple reasons. And one reason I particularly like it is if you're feeling overwhelmed with whatever, you can always go back and chill out for a little bit, come back.
Nice, cool stuff. Yes, go find the other Steven Universe fans. I know that's always a thing.
If I may, I'm a moderator of the Steven Universe subreddit, and I do know that we had 2 other moderators attend the convention last year, and they did share with me that it was a very fun experience to actually be able to see Steven Universe fans in person, since that's just kind of a thing that a lot of us aren't really able to do. We kind of only interact online. So I would imagine that alone is worth feeling at least once in your life, being around a bunch of people who enjoy the same thing as you.
It's very special. It's very special.
Yeah, cool stuff. Yeah, listen to Steven Universe fans here, but actually see people there. That'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, like, we had a Frybo cosplay last year. Well, that was the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. I'm like, you're not going to necessarily see a Frybo cosplay at a normal con. That's like an only at Beach City Con type thing.
Important. Did they use real ketchup?
I don't know, but their partner had a seagull on a stick that they followed them around. And it was amazing. And they actually swapped it because it was a giant, like mesh suit. It was terrifying. And then at the rave, Frybo danced at the rave. So again, that's sort of a hashtag only at Beach City Con moment.
Yeah, definitely only there. Okay, well, we'll go over all this information again at the end, but let's get into. Thank you, K-K. Let's get into some discussion here on Can't Go Back and Single Pale Rose. And we've been talking about these episodes. We'll continue to until whenever Cartoon Network, still no date, give us the next episodes. But Beatriz, we haven't gotten your takes on these episodes yet, although we did get a reaction video from you on our YouTube channel, so you can see Beatriz as she was watching these episodes. But what do you think of the episodes, Beatriz?
I mean, it's interesting because I kind of watch these in binges. I wait a long time until there's like more than 2 episodes, and then I binge them. And I didn't find there to be a drop in quality. If anything, it's just this wonderful build-up to these 2 episodes that were just epic. And if anyone did see the video, you will know that I lost my mind, and that high kind of remained. I thought these were great episodes. I can't wait to see what happens next. I know that there's still no news from Cartoon Network, but that's not surprising. That's okay. We're fine. It's all okay right now. Yeah, we are not losing our minds. We are fine.
No, we have still plenty to talk about. So with just these,
we're on our 4th podcast in the same 2 episodes.
we could do more. And Beatriz, we saw your reaction in real time. But how are you feeling now about Rose being Pink Diamond?
I mean, it's interesting. I kind of. It's silly to say that I can't see it any other way now, but it makes sense. Like, everything kind of falls into place now. And if there's one thing, okay, I'm going to bring a Star Wars reference because I have to. So Rian Johnson, the way he set up The Last Jedi was that he said, what is the hardest thing that these characters can hear? Right? What is the hardest thing? What's the hardest thing that they can go through? That's what I want this movie to be about. Well, it's the same thing with this, where the hardest thing that they could hear is, oh, by the way, Rose is Pink Diamond. That is the most that changes everything, and it changes every relationship. And there's just such a breach in trust and all this stuff. And Steven is going to take the brunt of it because, of course, Steven's going to take a brunt of it. Technically, I think, and personally, that he is Pink Diamond now. So, like, it's just, there's so much happening, and it's just, I think it's brilliant, and I am still very, very satisfied with how things are going because we don't have the aftermath, I guess. Because we don't have the aftermath, I can't really criticize anything. Right now, it's just this kind of amazing cliffhanger, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to soak in the glory of this.
Yeah, we're all still riding the high, and then we'll see.
Exactly.
See how the fallout from it later. I really agree with that Last Jedi comparison. This is the hardest thing Steven could hear right now, and a bunch of other characters too, but Steven being the most important and how he's going to handle this. So yeah, that's good stuff there. KK, what was your take on Can't Go Back and Single Pale Rose? Were you into these episodes?
I'm pretty sure I was just screaming from the moment Steven starts his dream/flashback and Can't Go Back until I can't exactly shatter myself and beyond. Let's be honest, I've not stopped screaming since then. I was actually listening to last week's episode, and I liked that. It was like the "When did you know?" And that was the line for me because I was such a staunch supporter of Rose Quartz's Pink Diamond. The fancy Reddit master post is actually mine. I was so upset. I loved that theory. And it made so much narrative sense to me for all the reasons it still does. But then when I finally accepted it wasn't real, then it took me an extra long time in this episode to be like, no, but what? But no, it can't. It's not that, right? And anyway, I'm just I'd have a lot of faith in the Steven writers. So about the only thing that would make me really, really disappointed is if the Diamonds are now everyone's best friends because their daughter is alive. That would be my only.
That's not going to happen.
I do think it'll happen with White. I am concerned with some of the framing of Blue and Yellow that it might go that way with them. We'll see. I would way rather that that be an option, and Steven and the Crystal Gems to be like, actually, that's terrible. You only care about me because I'm one of four beings you consider a person in the whole universe. Like,
yeah, that's definitely one of the interesting character reactions we'll have to see is the diamonds. How are they going to react to this? Right. We saw them on trial before. Yeah, you said you were a staunch supporter of this.
I was, yes, and it was Earthlings when I finally gave it up.
Okay, yeah. So when did you hop on board? Because there are people who supported this very early on, and then you.
To the sword. I was on board from day one. Once I heard, I don't claim that I like originated in my head or anything, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, then you were thinking this is happening. Then in Earthlings, you said no, and then it took until now to bring it back.
Yeah. And then it was, I Can't Exactly Shatter Myself was the moment I was like, oh my God, I was right all along. I was right.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's a pretty typical arc. And I think I talked about this before. I think that's why this is potentially a very good twist, is because it feels substantiated because a lot of people thought of it before, but then we weren't expecting it because...
well, it's the twist on top of the twist. That's what makes Steven Universe's twist so worthwhile. Not Rose's Pink Diamond, and they existed simultaneously, and the only person who knew was Pearl. Like, those are two things that very, very few people predicted. I do get screeners, so I get to see the episodes early. And I saw one person get it exactly right. So many people were so close, saying Pink mind-controlled Rose Quartz and transferred her consciousness into Rose, which is obviously very, very close. But only one person did I see get it exactly right.
Yeah, people weren't expecting this even the day of. It was pretty fun. I think no one would have been even expecting it all if not for advanced spoilers. But it's like even with that, still a huge reaction there. And yeah, okay, cool stuff. Hearing on your arc with this, and we'll get some more takes as we go along. Alex, we already heard your general opinions on the episodes. Anything new or potentially Any further thoughts on historical context for Single Pale Rose in like the pantheon of great Steven Universe episodes?
Well, I'm still gonna be here. Like, guys, can we not ignore Can't Go Back? That was a great episode.
No, it's wonderful.
I'm still gonna hang on that. But at the same time, I recognize that A Single Pale Rose is a very great episode, and I do think it merits inclusion in your top 5 if you want to put it that high. I think both of these episodes end up in my top 20 at some point. Like, they're just so good, but because they build on these characters that we followed through so much time, we've had a lot of Lapis episodes to build on to get to how she's reacting and Can't Go Back. And The Single Pale Rose, obviously, that's all based on all the Pearl episodes we've had digging through her different insecurities throughout the years. So all of that meshing into one episode just makes it a very impactful episode itself. But yeah, like I want to put both episodes on like a similar level, honestly. Like, I think they're both equally amazing.
Yeah, okay. That's a very fair take to Lapis. I shall appreciate that. But yeah, I've said potentially Single Pale Rose as high as 4th best Steven Universe episode, which is a reaction to that, KK?
I have not. It's like it's hard to see it as a holistic episode because it's so much about the reveal. I do love Pearlception, and even the beginning bit where Steven's trying so hard to ask the question, and I just love the show so much, guys. Whereas I think Can't Go Back, it's easier for me to step back and be like, just the animation is so gorgeous, and as you said, like the Lapis arc, and I feel like we're still sort of in the middle of it. And you can actually rewind the tape and see where my heart breaks when she's screaming, "The diamonds, are they here? Are they close?" while sitting next to Steven. Yeah.
We need to. It's all great stuff. We need some distance from Single Pale Rose, and I agree. It's heavily weighted towards that last scene, but both episodes will be able to better contextualize if we ever get more Steven Universe. We'll see.
Yeah, admittedly, we're still too close where like recency bias is going to take us all. Like, right. What happens if like the season finale? It's like, oh, okay, no, this is better somehow.
Yeah, and what's interesting is you can't imagine the season finale is as big as Single Pale Rose, which I think is the biggest Steven Universe episode ever, and it's like mid-season. It's very interesting.
Well, and this is my optimist take on it, but I also feel like this is the rock bottom of Rose Quartz. Like, we spent 5 seasons, tearing down the lie that she was perfect, and now we're going to be able to see some stuff in the other direction that reminds us, oh no, there were parts of Rose Quartz that were very, very good and worth loving.
That's a great way to put it, that we've initially presented Rose as like this like god type figure, and we've slowly been seeing the cracks in that image everyone has of her. And this is a great transition to what I want to be our lead topic once again here. And we talked about this in our second of these podcasts, but all the feedback was about this because people didn't like what I had to say about is Rose a bad person? And I'll refresh my take on this, which is, it's partly for discussion purposes, but, I'm putting forth the view that, Rose is a bad person because we've learned she was Pink Diamond. She was a privileged elite gem. She was she was a privileged person who co-opted a marginalized person's identity. Which she was a diamond, she was a ruler, she took this oppressed courts, and she says, this is me now, and this is not something that you can do. And this is one of my main takeaways was, wow, I'm really mad at Rose now. Like, this is horrible, and she's building an entire rebellion and people's self-images on some horrible action she took. I think a lot of fans' reaction to this were like, she's young, she's naive. Hysen Carey said, I don't think she's a bad person. I think she's definitely a naive person. But I don't think she had bad intentions. And I think she legitimately wanted to help her fellow gems. If she knew the diamonds would have eradicated the gems, she never would have done what she did. Which, yes, Rose didn't think that the diamond attack was coming.
But that's kind of the problem, is she never thinks about anyone but herself. She always does what she wants, right? Like,
yeah. No one's claiming Rose, did this with full knowledge that we would have this attack on Earth, killing a ton of gems. No, she didn't know that. But I think part of the argument would be what K-K said, in that she's, she's self-centered. And I really think the view we've had of Rose throughout the series has mostly just been self-centered, and like that it's all about her, like expanding view of humans and of like interacting with the world. And it's like, oh, I love this so much. I love everything here, and I think it's interesting to potentially recontextualize some of the things we saw in an innocent light before. But yeah, KK.
So you mean like the fact that she was actually defending herself when she poofed Bismuth? I think about that a lot.
Yeah, the Bismuth stuff. The needs of reevaluations of all of that. Bismuth cannot be pleased with this stuff, as with a lot of. I'm
going to take Rebecca at her word and believe that Bismuth is coming back, and because I need it, I need her to get some closure.
Oh well,
meanwhile, Jasper also requires.
Jasper gonna have some reactions. We saw Sapphire's gonna have trouble dealing with this in the promo. Yeah,
Lapis. Don't forget Lapis.
Lapis, like, even is one of two people she trusts in the entire world.
He's a diamond!
Not good. We just got to go through everyone here and like how this is going to destroy them. That's not fun. Yeah, KK, where do you stand right now on like Rose being a good person, a bad person? Like, obviously a bad person is simplistic take.
I guess first I gotta say, good is not a thing you are, it's a thing you do, right? So like, we should probably, I try to separate like someone's intentions from like their effects on the world. And so like, I will never forgive Rose for the gag order. I will never forgive Rose for not trying to use her position as a diamond to affect change before she tried her stupid, dumb plan of killing herself, faking her own death. But I think that Your Mother and Mine was very specifically put where it was in the episode order to remind us that the rebellion was about much more than rose quartz. So whether or not, she did it the best way possible, she really did change a lot for a lot of people, even temporarily. And right. So I think I don't think that she did it just for herself, even if she was doing what she wanted, it can be separated.
Yeah, like even if you want to like ignore her intentions or like any sort of negative things around this, like it still started what was such a good positive thing for so many crystal gems, and like giving them senses of identity and like freeing them and like saving humans, like all she started that regardless of if it was poisons from the start, which is what I'm espousing here, which is that it's ruined what she was saying because of the bad origins. Like, and I don't think this is just my take. I think the show wants you to think about this. I
agree.
Yeah, which is super interesting. Like, this is such a horrible thing she did. You can't just be a person, who's in charge of things and benefiting from the bad treatment of a lot of different people, and then say, oh, I'm just gonna turn a blind eye to this and I'm just gonna be a person to clear my conscience, a marginalized person to clear my conscience. This is unacceptable. It's almost disqualifying to me. I guess I'm arguing it is disqualifying. I don't think I can ever view Rose as even good anymore. And I think a lot of people's response have been she was like a child. She was naive and she had good intentions. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry. I'm arguing with your hypothetical people. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, what's your response to that?
I think that's tough because you see Pink Diamond grow up. We literally have seen her from Jungle Moon to Can't Go Back. She is a very different person, right? Not mature enough, but, and I mean, maybe that's sort of the tragedy of Pink Diamond. She can't ever grow up unless she fully changes. So, she had to be Steven to grow up, which I guess is also technically true. I don't know. I don't want to give up on Rose. I really love Rose. I really love Pearl Rose, even still with how disgusting the gag order is. But as I said, my optimist view is that right now we're at the lowest point, and then we're going to slowly be reminded why.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good take because you can't go further down in my view. Of Rose.
No.
So this is, and I think the show.
I think you can because there is the other side of this where we go to flashbacks and we see other manipulations that Rose did in the creation of the crystal gems. I still think there's a lot of ground to be dug up there if we wanted to keep going down the road of Rose is terrible and Steven is going to do the exact opposite of what Rose did.
And not just that, but you can also go more into the things that Pink Diamond herself participated in and what was it that took for her to decide, what was the moment exactly? There are things that you could go more into and to show how complicit Pink Diamond was in the whole scheme of everything until even before Rose Quartz was a thing. What was, you know what I mean? So there are ways to go even darker, but I'm also an optimist and I hope that's not the case.
Yeah, I think it's possible the show. It could do that. The expectation probably be that we could have Bismuth revisited it and we could see it from Rose's perspective.
Yeah.
There's all these. Yeah, I think there's other stuff to do, but there's also
and I have hope for Pearl and her relationship because again, no excusing the gag order. Horrible. Never forgive her for that. But the moment right before, they're holding hands. They're looking into each other's eyes. They're, you don't say Pearl like that to someone you consider just an object, just a servant. So I really have hope or maybe just naivety.
Yeah. Are you still shipping them even now, in that, beyond just feeling for Pearl's feelings, which is one thing too.
It's tough for me to separate out the writing and the narrative from that, right? I don't want this narrative to be different than it currently is going. So how could I not still ship them and still root for them in whatever twisted ways left? But I think Pearl's, I know because I'm quoting Rebecca Sugar or paraphrasing that Pearl's story is about finding your identity outside of a romantic partnership. And discovering and realizing that basing your whole self on a romantic partner is not a good thing to do. So it's hard for me to separate that out. I love the tragedy of their relationship, but I would never want them to be endgame. No, Rose, you blew it. You blew it.
Yeah, it's ship them in the context that it was, and now we're on the Pearl moving past that arc, and we saw them more with the numbers in her head, and this has been another thing that was really colored by this, because now we know Pearl is Pink Diamond's diamond, and maybe we'll talk about that more later with some questions. But yeah, Alex?
Just speaking in a more general sense to Rose viewing Pearl as more than just an object, I think that's one thing to keep in mind when we're talking about, is Rose a bad person? I bristled at that in our first podcast, but due to things like intentions and whatnot. But I think another thing that displays that Rose is just, or Pink Diamond, it was different, was that in contrast to Yellow and Blue Diamond, who treat gems as just part of the system, of the objects, But Pink Diamond did see gems as potential to do more, to be different. And she promoted that through this movement. And that alone is a very big value that wasn't present in the diamond system up to that point. So the fact that she is sacrificing a lot of her position, like they go through that discussion of like, we're giving up everything. We can't go back to the way it was. But she wasn't content with staying the way she was. She did all that in part because she recognized these other gems could do more than what they were just made to do. And so that I think is another thing that the Rose-Pearl relationship embodies and is displayed by Rose in other crystal gem related moments that makes her have some redeeming qualities that shouldn't be cast aside in this.
Yeah, I mean, you could clearly Rose can have redeeming qualities. I think part of what you're saying was she's better than the other diamonds. Yes, doesn't mean she's a good person. Also, I think bad people can have good qualities. You know, I think like that's fair. Okay, let's read this comment from Tatiana Rosh. Let's bring in more feedback from you guys. Who says, "I can't fully call Rose Rose Quartz / Pink Diamond. I think we're agreeing to call her Rose, by the way. But a bad person. But I do think that she's a product of a combination of bad parenting and being naive. I imagine that blue, yellow, and white told Pink ever since her creation that she's important and above every gem she grew up being entitled. I think Pink's mind, she feels oppressed in the Diamond Authority. Now with the Gem Rebellion, I think she tried to do a good thing, but her intentions were misguided. In her mind, she based the gem oppression on her own experiences. Her version of being oppressed as a person of privilege compared to the other gems is where her being naive comes in. She didn't think about how the rebellion would affect other gems. I believe blue and yellow are as much to blame for what happened to Pink. After the war, Rose did try to be a good person, and I think she did eventually become a good person. I do believe she did care for everyone. In the end, she loves Steven. I don't think she is meant for all this. I don't think she meant for all this stuff happening to Steven to happen now. So that brings up a point at the end that Rose could have been a bad person and become a good person, which I'm open to, which I think is in play. We saw some of the like if you try to put the flashbacks in order, I think she comes across a lot better in the later ones. I want to quell all this naive talk. I want to make a comparison here that I hope put some context here. There's a Game of Thrones comparison, so I don't know if it's going to apply to everyone, but Joffrey in Game of Thrones.
Wow, you are going for the baddest.
I'm trying to go for the throat here. Joffrey is this horrible, 14-year-old king who does terrible stuff. And I think Joffrey is naive and was coddled and was told he was great. But we're not saying Joffrey, we're not excusing him.
He doesn't have pink hair though, so you know.
I think part of it is Rose being an appealing character, honestly. But I
agree 100%.
Yeah, which is I think also potentially intentional from the show and interesting. But did naive and had this upbringing, it does not excuse her actions here. You could I feel like Joffrey even younger in how he comes across than Rose in this, and Rose has more autonomy to a certain extent in what she's doing. I feel like these are things we shouldn't really put into play. I think without Jungle Moon, a lot of people's reactions would be different here. That episode has colored so many people's perspectives, and seeing Pink as a child. And I think I agree with what K-K said before, that she comes across a lot older in these episodes, still young compared to the Diamonds, but I don't think she's the kid she was there. And that was also just one episode, and we're being so influenced by that, much like we were before with our portrayal of Rose, with all these flashback episodes that painted her in a good light. Yeah, but I think there's other good points here, but obviously, yellow and blue are to blame. They're the terrible people.
Well, they're the ones instituting the system for teaching Pink, this is how things are supposed to be done. And Pink, her idea of rebellion is, well, things shouldn't be like that. But the problem is that, as mentioned in the
your own people. Wouldn't you nuke your own people just to get back at your bratty kid? Come on.
I mean, yeah, can I just say, okay, hot take. I don't think Rose was naive. I don't.
No, I don't.
I think she wasn't naive. She was selfish. I think K-K hit it on the nail. She was selfish, and she did not. Instead of doing the rebellion as Pink Diamond, instead of herself as this identity of Pink Diamond, betraying these her sisters, her parents, whatever the other diamonds are to her, instead of actually facing that, she decided to take on another identity because she couldn't handle it. And it was she couldn't take it off. She couldn't do it as Pink Diamond. She felt like she didn't have the freedom to do it. So then you have Rose, and I don't know. I just don't like the whole like good, bad. It's too simple. I don't like that dichotomy. Right. It's way too simple. I think she's flawed. Absolutely. I think that this is a lie that it could have either been that one day she saw something and she was like, no, I have to do something. So she just inadvertently changed into a rose quartz. And then that's the beginning of Rose or something. Or maybe it was much more intentional than that. And I feel like it's a lie that spiraled out of control to the point where suddenly she became a leader of this movement and was like, all right, you know what? I can't tell these people because the moment I do, suddenly that's going to ruin this revolution. Like if I come clean, it's going to ruin everything. And that's another thing. It's like, we don't take into account that all this happened during wartime. All this happened during a war. And as an outsider looking back at this like history, I'm like, she wanted to win a battle between her and the Diamonds.
Well, unfortunately, I think that kind of falls apart when you consider the battle was between the Crystal Gems and Pink Diamond.
No, I know. But I'm just saying, I agree. I'm just saying that, like, I can understand the logic, and there's for her, there's just not enough. I personally think there was just not enough time for the whole nuance discussions to have of like, hey, I'm a diamond, and I'm also like, I don't know. I just think that it's just, there's a lot in terms of like the power dynamics between each character and their relationship with these diamonds. And it will take a long time for that to change, for them, not only for them to start trusting a diamond, but also for these power dynamics to shift so that they're all seen as equal, because this is something that's been ingrained into their minds since their creation. So like Rose was probably was like, this is the quickest way for me to, like, in this like kind of high intense situation, this is the quickest way for me to get people to trust me. And like, again, more in a selfish kind of route, take off this mask and like not do the hard work, because she is entitled. She's like, I don't want to put in the effort. I'm just going to do this. And it's like, whatever. So like in hindsight, I can kind of like understand it in a way. So I don't condone it. It's a bad thing. It's a flaw, and it's a very big mistake. And there's going to be huge blowback. But in terms of like, oh, she's bad, oh, she's good, it's like that doesn't do anything.
Okay.
I think she's fine.
I'll change it through there's a lot of stuff here. So I think first there's potentially two parts to the Pink becoming Rose thing, in that she might have like not intended it to be a permanent thing at first, and she was going back and forth. And then there's like the moment we saw in Single Pale Rose where she like commits to this as her new person, and there's a decision point during the war, I guess, that's it's important to consider both of those. There's also this I understand sympathizing with her. Like we all say, if we were in her position, we wouldn't want to be this person who is doing terrible things along with the other diamonds. But then I think there's the other thing, which is like, oh, but I would try to change it from this position that I was in, and I wouldn't try to co-opt an identity like that. And then also there's the two questions of what's her motivation ultimately for becoming Rose? Is it to inspire a rebellion, or is it to get away from the difficulty that she has as being a diamond? And I don't buy that more than 1% of her head is going towards starting a rebellion. I think that she's doing this almost entirely to like put her mind at ease, which is really bad.
I think it could be both. I don't think that you have to rule out one, but at the same time, I think also people are thinking of naivete when really it's just Rose not really thinking about the consequences of her actions on other people. I think people are conflating the two things, where like being naive, I feel, is like just it's like, what would you define as your define naive being? Because I don't think that's the same as acting without considering consequences necessarily.
That might be the dictionary definition, but I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll get into
but like I think that Rose has proven several times that she acts without really considering what happens later, or she acts without considering the thoughts or what's going to happen to other people, especially in episodes with Greg or with Pearl. We've seen that multiple times. So.
You just made me consider the fact that, like, okay, let's say you have it in your heart to totally forgive Rose for the naivety of the Pink Diamond decision. And then she goes and has Steven and she's like, this will solve all my problems. It worked the last time. No, it didn't, Rose. It literally did not work the last time. It was really bad.
And like there, she doesn't consider the consequence of, oh, what happens if my son has to deal with all the stuff I did? Like that did more than likely did not come up at all in her thought process. And you can't
claim naivety because she literally changed her identity to run away from her problems one time and it blew up in her face, right? Like,
right. That's not being naive.
And like, I think that's the moment. It's like once they survive the attack, once the diamonds are no longer like present, she continues to keep the Rose identity, you know? So she continues to live this kind of lie. So it's kind of like, we need more insight into how this all happened, because I would like to
offer that I think it's within Pink Diamond's rights to be Rose Quartz. I just don't think that it's right for her to
keep it a secret.
Not, as you said, I think because it was hard to try and enact change as Pink Diamond, she didn't try beyond saying like, oh, the crystal gems are scaring me, right? Like she didn't actually say, hey, mom, sisters, this isn't right what you are doing. And I am going to tell you as one of the, again, 4 people in the entire universe that you would actually maybe listen to. She just said, no, there's a war.
Because again, she was selfish. She was terrified. She did not think she could do it as Pink Diamond. So it's kind of like, that's the flaw. That right there. It's her inability to like embrace that identity and like accept that, yes, that you are Pink Diamond. This is the hand.
More on this in a second, and what she might have done as Pink Diamond. I think under any circumstance, her permanently becoming Rose is terrible. I think there's a big difference between her going back and forth in order to incite a rebellion, which you could argue means to an end, versus permanently becoming her, which I think it's hard to excuse as anything but hiding and like trying to put your mind at ease. Her becoming Steven is a great point. This is thousands of years later, and it's hard to excuse her giving birth to Steven and not telling him anything, leaving him to deal with everything with no context, and like she didn't seem to care about that at all. Like she's still kind of that person who doesn't care about anything except like, this will be a good thing. This is what I should do as a human. I mean, we need more context for this. Like maybe she left it as tape for Steven in the chest. Maybe that's going to be a thing. But that's another thing that's questionable. And if we're having trouble with bad person, then let me give another bold take here. Rose Quartz is a villain. How about that? Is that harder or easier or harder to swallow than she's a bad person?
I mean, for me, it's not that it's harder, easier to swallow. It's a similar kind of dichotomy. It's like the hero and the villain, the good person and the bad person. It's kind of just like, you can be both. You can be like, I don't know. I just feel like if like it was previously mentioned, she did cause positive change with the gems. Suddenly she has, so it's not like everything she did was horrible and had terrible repercussions. So for me, it's just to put her as so simply as a villain, so simply as a bad guy or a bad gem in this case, to me is just too simplistic. I think it's easier to say, oh, she is a flawed individual. I don't think saying, oh, she's a villain, because our definition of a villain is someone who intentionally does and seeks out to negatively impact the world. And that's not what Rose did. So I think in terms of interpersonal relationships, she just doesn't know she was never taught what a healthy relationship means. I think one of the key examples to show that she really hasn't changed is the fact that the one person who does know about this power dynamic and this one relationship that does have this kind of unhealthy power dynamic between the two is the one that just completely, she has not really had that conversation with, or at least we haven't seen that conversation she's had with Pearl of her being like, yes, but gems are we haven't seen that reconciliation, that kind of wait, but you are a diamond and I am a pearl, and am I just programmed to love you or not? So it's just I don't know. I just think villain it's the same question. You're saying the same thing personally.
Okay, I need to dig deeper here then. I think Rose had bad intentions. I think that there's several actions she took where she knew what she was doing that and she did them anyway. I don't think it's naivety. I think her becoming Rose, she knows what she's doing. It's not like she's like, whoops, now I'm Rose. Like she intentionally did this and like she specifically did it after going on and off for a long period of time potentially. And she knew what this effect was going to have on other people. She specifically hid things from everyone around her in order to protect herself. She knows what she's doing there. She specifically ordered Pearl to shut up. She knows the effect that as a diamond has on her Pearl. And she specifically, I think, is giving birth to Steven, and like I like that she probably didn't care to think about the consequences, but they're gonna come to mind. I don't buy that it's like nowhere in her head. I think she doesn't care. Like I think it doesn't make her
she doesn't care, and having bad intentions are two different things.
Like no, I think she doesn't care is like she thinks about it. And she says, I don't care about that. I think that's a bad intention. Like it comes in your head, you dismiss it, and you go at something else. Like that's an intention is going specifically in this one direction. Like, these are, like, doesn't mean that she also hasn't done good things. Like I agree that she's not 100% bad, but I think if you're saying someone has to be 100% bad in order to call them a bad person or a villain, then you'd have almost zero people in the history of the world that you'd be able to label as that. So I don't think it's that crazy to be talking about these labels.
All right. So do you think that she, like, do you think that when she tells Garnet, oh, like you are beautiful, like this fusion, that's like, it's a positive thing, you think she is intentionally lying to Garnet just so she can join her side because she wants to be free from the diamonds, not because she wants to save the Earth?
No, I don't. I think probably not for that one. There's good things.
That's what I mean.
That's what I'm saying. I think she's probably done good things. We need to re-examine things like the answer in this new context. It's all very, we had this one interpretation before, but, like I buy that Rose did good things in like propping up everyone's identities like that, specifically with Garnet. I think it's in play that she didn't do it because of them. But it also could be. So like clearly there's positive things, and the recent thing that we saw was a negative, so it's going to be fresh in our heads, and we'll see if the show, like we talked about before, if it doubles down on that, if it tries to lighten it up here. Okay, last piece of feedback on this was from Thebes, since we're talking about that what she didn't do as Pink Diamond. Thebes says that Rose did try as Pink Diamond to change things. He says, if you listen to what Blue is saying and think it through, you'll notice that what Blue reprimands her for is failure to genocide or crush dissidents. Pink seems to have been attempting to wield her authority to save Earth, but was just dismissed by Blue and Yellow. It's quite reasonable to believe that Pink's diplomatic methods were flawed, but she definitely made attempts and only decided to fake her death after those attempts failed.
I mean, again, I want to reiterate, Rose did not at no point, or that we have any reason to believe, did she walk up to the diamonds and say, hey, this is wrong. These systems are not okay. The way that we treat other people, other gems, is not okay. No, she played at war. She created an entirely different persona to play for 1,000 years while gems were shattered and humans died and the planet suffered, just so that she didn't have to stand up and say, as herself with privilege, this is wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's different.
I think what you're saying and what Thebes saying are both true. Like, I think she did it. We have no evidence that she just tried to directly influence the diamonds, which is the really damning thing with her. But also, she definitely did attempt to prevent the Earth from being destroyed. That, I think that is the intention of the flashback in Can't Go Back, is the heavy implication is that she is thwarting these attempts to dismantle the cities and stuff. So like she did do something. It's just not it's like a very passive aggressive way of going against her sisters.
It's avoiding conflict, right? Like
Yes.
she doesn't want to get her hands dirty up to that point, and for some reason she only feels that she can face conflict as Rose Quartz, not as Pink Diamond.
Yes.
And I think it's important also, just very quickly, I think it's important to balance, like, to see, like, because this is a question, and this is something that everyone's gonna have a different answer to, but all the good that Rose did and balance, see if that outweighs the bad she did or if not. So it's important to, like, well, because we're so right now,
Davos Seaworth. on this. The good does not outweigh the bad.
Yeah, but like
they both exist. They both exist.
They both, like, that's what I mean. It's like it's an answer that's going to depend on every person. It's going to differ. So it's like I feel like that's a more interesting question than is she a villain? Because at this moment, I don't think there's enough to make her out to be I don't think there's enough right now to frame her as a villain at this moment. If she were the only diamond to exist, then maybe, I don't know, but like right now there are other villains who are actually threatening.
She's clearly not the big bad. I think it's a relevant question to Steven. Like, I think this is what he's going to be asking himself now. Was my mom, am I this horrible person? Was I a villain? Like, I don't think this is just me, like, conjecturing as my reaction to this. This is all what's going to be happening in Steven's head. He's going to be doing these podcasts in his own head. And, it's gonna, like, this is very, front of mind, I think, for the show as we're going here.
I think he's definitely going to have to challenge. He's definitely going to have to face his privilege. Absolutely. I think that, and then he's going to have to ask these questions of like, my mom is not as good. Like, she wasn't a good person. She wasn't a bad person. Like, I don't know. He's going to have to ask these questions. But as viewers into the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's safe to say like, oh yeah, she's 100% in the bad camp. She's 100% in the good camp, or in between. Like, I agree with you that like not every, like, bad people are not easily like defined as good and bad, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and lest we forget, all of season 4 was dedicated to Steven coming to terms with Rose being a bad person.
Right,
Storm in the Room is that entire arc, like, encapsulated to one episode. So we could go through that all over again, but I think Steven is already at a place where ignoring this whole #murder mystery thing that we had to go through. But I think Steven had already come to terms with the fact that Rose was a bad person, or that at least hadn't done things the right way, especially going through things with like Bismuth and Jasper and those things. So, like, if we're going to do that, I'm worried that it's going to end up being a redux of that same arc they went through that entire season.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily going to be actively on screen like season 4. I think this is more of a background thing that's going to be happening with Steven, because I agree we did this already. Potential criticism of doing this now in season 5 is that it makes season 4 stuff and previous stuff with Steven seem pointless. But I think they intentionally did that so we could handle things like Sapphire's reaction immediately. Like, we can do bigger things with this now. We don't have to spend an entire season of Steven coming to terms with Rose not being the same figure that he thought she was, because he does already think that. So, I don't think this is a debate in Steven's head. I think Steven is on the bad person side because at least he can't deal with like negative influences on this. And here's a related question that we got from Josh Writer's Block. Says, if you combine this revelation with Steven's prior willingness to take responsibility for what his mother did, what exactly will he think his course of action need to be? Will he feel responsible to account for the consequences of the war? I would say yes, based on what we've seen from Steven previously. Like, he's going to think this is his fault. Everything that happened that he saw in Single Pale Rose. At least, like, that's similar to how he's reacted to previous Rose revelations. So I think this is, like, super in play.
Although, maybe it will be the case that he will realize that he is basically Rose Quartz. He's Pink Diamond 3.0, so he's, like, the second attempt at Rose Quartz from Pink Diamond. So maybe that will actually help him detach from that mindset. I mean, he saw how much it devastated his whole family when he left, right, for the trial. So perhaps this will be a potential for growth for Steven to be like, actually, it's not my fault. I still have to deal with it, but it's not my fault.
Yeah, see, my wish would be that we've seen Rose lie and hide things from the gems, and in that finale with I Am My Mom, Steven makes that decision to go to Homeworld without having told the gems beforehand, and that's what shocks him so much. So I hope that, at least in my head, like, the idea would be Steven actually consults with the gems before making a decision, since that would be the opposite of what Rose Quartz would have done.
Yeah,
Rose always kept everything to the chest, and Steven, if he's wanting to do the right thing, do things the right way, he'll consider the consequences of his actions with other gems. So I don't know if the show is going to do that, but I think that would make sense considering the parallels that we're continuing to draw between what Steven does and what Rose did.
Yeah, she is literally storing something in a locked chest. But yeah, I think this could be freeing for Steven in that he's like, okay, this is settled. She's mom was terrible. Now I'm gonna be my own person and solve these. I can be better than this. I'm Pink Diamond. I can actually have an effect on things now. Like I think all of that's potentially in play from Steven. And maybe he's too busy dealing with everyone else's reactions to see what he's gonna do at first. Like I kind of doubt that we're gonna get fully into Steven's mindset with Garnet stuff, but maybe that's gonna all intertwine. That'll be interesting. Yeah, I think this is very interested to see these next few episodes and Steven's reaction to all of this. And I'm Pink Diamond. What's he gonna do? But let's.
Oh my gosh, you guys! Uncle Andy was practice for bad relatives. Oh my gosh.
It's all symbolism. Yeah.
His aunts are just going to show up and be racist.
Yeah. Uncle Andy is White Diamond. Okay. I think that's what we're
confirmed.
That's okay. That's what we're establishing. Yeah. We don't need to work on this discussion. But yeah, that is everything with the boardies is the intentional comparison to stuff. Yeah. We also have to keep that in mind. Briefly, let's talk. I've been putting this off for a while to talk about this topic. We spent a ton of time on Rose bad person, and we're just going to probably keep talking about that. But last thing is, I've seen some people talking about this. Patron David says, what I don't know how fits into this is the zoo. How does this reveal affect our interpretation of the zoo? Rose put humans in a zoo. What do we think about that?
They're so pretty. It's fun.
When did this happen in the timeline of Rose?
Early. You got to think because I think it's early in the Pink Diamond comes to Earth timeline.
Yeah, I feel like this happened before Rose.
I think one theory against this, in Greg the Babysitter, that far ahead, she's still struggling with the idea of babies. She considers them small humans. So I wonder if, gems were her main focus, and in general, she's like, let's protect organic life. I wonder how long it took for her to consider humans as more than animals or more than just life. And perhaps that was her reasoning, like, okay, this is how I'll protect the humans by taking them off planet to a zoo. Like, I think that's actually in play based on what we've seen of Rose treating humans poorly until she finally got with Greg and finally considered like, oh, you're a real person.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of when it could have potentially happened, it's before she did the fake her own death thing, right? Because the other diamonds acknowledge this as like Pink Zoo and stuff like that. So it has to be before that moment. I agree. This kind of fits into our image of Rose down the line too. I guess the biggest evidence that comes to my mind against that would be Garnet's retelling of the story, but we now know that is not true. So, Garnet's like, oh, and she saw humans, and she's like, oh, humans are cool and all, humans and stuff.
It might be true. Parts of it, I think. I have the impression that there are large parts of that story that are true. It's just that obviously many details are obscured.
Can I just say the migraine Garnet is going to get when she finds out? Because she did not see this coming. And she'll probably be like, then what's the point of me looking into the future? Like, what is the point?
Which is why I think you see the reverse of Keystone, where Sapphire is the one who freaks out because she can't see the future in which this is resolved, right? Man.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talk about Garnet's future vision being super pointless now. This is the one thing why didn't you see this, Garnet?
Well, look, this was an outcome that was so far out of her pools that she didn't think about it. She needed to be more random.
Right.
Why didn't Garnet speculate as much as the fans did? We at some point saw this coming.
Sworn to the sword, baby.
Yeah, why did Garnet's future visions worse than Steven's theorizing confirm? Steven's fans theorizing confirm.
Oh, hey, okay. Since I'm on here just for one episode, what do you guys think White Diamond's name might be if not White Diamond?
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit last podcast. There's this Tumblr post. No, we didn't. I don't think there's this Tumblr post from Joe Johnson that said blank instead of white, where you'd expect him to just say White Diamonds. That heavily implies that White Diamond's name isn't actually White Diamond. We haven't heard anyone on the show say it. I mean, we're speculating kind of basic things like all diamond, mother diamond, stuff like that. But I think definitely White is not called White now, which is interesting.
I still think it's white diamond. I'm going to stay on that boat.
I think it's just going to be diamond.
It's a boring take, but what if it's the right take? Then I'm fine being boring.
Because we don't call white diamonds. We just call them diamonds. We call
that's interesting.
They're called
like proto diamond, but yeah, maybe just the diamond, like the original diamond, and then she spawned these diamonds. Yeah.
Okay, so here's a theory. And I'm not a color theorist, so tell me if I'm wrong, color theorists out there, but isn't white every color to get mixed together, like every other color mixed together? So couldn't it be that like the diamonds fusing together is white diamond?
We talked about this as well. This is something that
she's in the Flash.
So
I don't know. I don't know.
It
could be kind of like them. It could be like a visual trick, like you know how sometimes in like I don't know, say it's like Power Rangers and they're about to and they're all like in their thing and they like throw a punch, but then all of them are cuts to all of them throwing the punch or something. I don't know. Like it could be like a play on like.
Okay, so since we're on this topic, the first recap we had, Delaney was like, white's definitely a fusion, and then a lot of people were like, no, if you look at the Garnet flashback episode, Roses on Earth, and then my response was, that episode is all in question now. And then people are like, no, I still believe it anyway. It was animated different. So now we have this feedback from patron David says that White Diamond can't be a fusion because Garnet would have seen Rose on Earth shielding them. So that part has to be accurate of her story. And then also Sapphire believes White is a separate entity. And she would know because she's a high class gem.
Wait, but did Garnet see Pearl? Because maybe it was Pearl, like, pretending to be Rose, because we've seen
Pearl
that happen.
was in that shot as well?
I don't know.
She was.
I also...
the fusion idea would be if it's just blue and yellow fusing, right?
Right, which doesn't make sense to me. And I also think that there is a simpler reason for it, which is that they're saving a big bad for after they deal with White and Blue.
Right, that's the consensus opinion, is that that's the working theory, is that White could just be the bigger bad. That's why I haven't seen her yet. I'm still going to be really stubborn, and people will hate this. I think the fusion theory is still in play because I really am just not taking anything Garnet says seriously. Although Garnet would have seen Rose there.
What about the statue on Homeworld, though? What about the White Diamond statue on Homeworld?
Right. I mean, I think a lot of people think that could be a ship. David also says the diamond ship Voltron. Could that be a thing where we had the arms for yellow and blue, and then pink we saw the legs in the most recent Lion episode, and then we saw this silhouette on Homeworld of the White Diamond torso and head. My response is that I think that could be anything, but it could indicate she's separate. I think we were literally just talking about this on our Discord, in that the arm ship from the season 1 finale wasn't a diamond ship, so that might indicate that other gem ships are also not are also body part ships, which would go against this like diamond ships form a thing. They still could form a thing. But I don't know. I think anything with White Diamond is in play. I just want to say that. I think we've been so intentionally vague on the show with her that I think ruling things out on vague info. And again, I want to say we have not learned our lesson as a fandom, because everyone thought that Rose's Pink Diamond was not going to happen, and then it did happen.
Say everyone. Don't say everyone.
Almost everyone, like right before the episode.
What about the mural?
Well, I mean, okay. Like we saw on Joe Johnston's Tumblr that Pink's mural was an early design. That's why she doesn't look like her. It could be a myth that they're propagating, that she's, there's so many explanations. Like anything, that's why I want to say we're in a new age of Steven Universe here. Any crazy twist could happen, because the craziest twist of them all happened.
Is she even a diamond? She could be like coal, which isn't it that like diamond is like from coal or something? You know, it could be something else. She could be something else.
My grand theory is that
White's also going to have to be important for Pearl, though, right? Because Pearl was probably made for a white diamond. So.
Was she? I don't know. People.
So this has been another thing. So Joe Johnston on his Tumblr said Pearl was Pink's Pearl. So in the context of the episodes that we saw, she belonged to Pink. She could have originally been for a different diamond. She could have been the gifts, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But I think at least our default should be that she is made for Pink, because that is what was said.
I will totally be fine if she wasn't made for white, but I really don't think she was made for pink because her gem's in the wrong place.
Yeah, and we got into this as well. I think the rubies have gems in different places that don't match. I think that's not such a concrete thing, which is.
But I think that's only pearls that it matters, though, because they're made for their owners, right? I mean, that's the only anyway,
I mean, that is possible. But, like, again, we have so many fandom working assumptions like this. Like, originally we thought all the gems match their diamonds. Then it's like, maybe only pearls might. Like, none of this says, until this is stated in show. I feel like there's a lot of vague stuff going on here. But yeah, I just, in general, like, we expect some stuff to happen. This is the middle of season 5, and this is this crazy twist that we didn't think, like the things are going to happen now, I would say. Okay, last thing, Notavani says, my speculation, Lion Dimension is the interior of Steven's gem, and he's only been exploring the most obvious parts of it. So I said, I last podcast I put out there the Roseception episode pitch, where Steven now needs to talk to his mom. The only way he can really do that was a mechanism introduced in Single Pale Rose, where he goes inside his own gem in order to talk to a version of her psyche. So he can actually talk to her by going inside his own gem, and maybe he does this by body swapping with Lars, like in that one episode, and then you go into his own gem as Lars if he physically can't go inside his own gem. And then Nadavani is saying that maybe the Lion Dimension is the interior of Steven's gem. Maybe that's the purpose of showing us this going inside the Pearl gem mechanism in this latest episode. I think this is interesting that Steven's goes in his own gem in the Lion thing the whole time.
Lion is like the Pearl parallel, so that would, that's interesting.
My thing is, where does Lars fit into this? Just by crying on him and bringing him back to life, has he become a part of Steven's gem then? Is that where Lars throws this theory off a little bit to me.
Well, there's also the other lions too. It's I don't know. It's why not? I mean, he has access to he's inside him, so maybe he's just connected now and he's not actually part of the inside of the gem, but he has like a connection by bringing him back to life. I mean, we do need to solve this pocket dimension mystery, so this could be a way to tie it in.
If something were to happen to Lars or to Lion, would Steven feel it?
Interesting. I don't know if we ever seen Lion hurt.
I don't know. I don't recall, but it could be like maybe they're now, because maybe they're now a part of Steven, like they're a part of like him, like his soul or whatever it is. And if something were to happen to them, like if something were to happen to Steven, something happens to them. I think it's safe to assume. So if something were to happen to them, what would happen to Steven? Like, is it?
That's an interesting concept of that. If Steven got shattered, would all of the things he brought back to life get shattered? Like that, we don't know. This is all new with the Lars thing, despite it happening a year ago. Around. So I guess we'll see on all that. I think all of this is in play. Like we had a big Rose thing happening, and now we know everything associated with Rose is happening with Pink. So now Pink is attached to things like Lion and Lars, and let's keep that in mind because it could be interesting. So
that's why they're pink.
Yes, pink. Yes,
yeah, because Rose was pink. I got it.
It's a little obvious.
I mean, that was evidence, right? For his Lion is.
What
pink,
episode is that? Is that like season 1? Oh yeah, that's Steven's Lion. That's gotta be. That's early.
Also in Rose's scabbard, they go. I think somebody says like she was pink, and like Garnet goes, it was a little obvious. Or something.
Yeah, it was a little obvious. Oh, you guys, they were troll. Do you guys see that?
They totally were trolling.
Yes, of course.
In laser freaking light cannon, do you know the first ever image we receive of Rose? Do you know what it is?
No, what is it?
Steven crawls on a picture of her and shatters her. That is the literal first time we ever see Rose Quartz.
More importantly, she's eating a hot dog.
Yeah.
That's a symbol for something.
Yeah. Reanalyze everything now, yeah. I think it would have been most front of mind during those early episodes, so I think that makes sense.
Well, and I have, again, when I was really deep into the theory, there are very clear diamond tones in Dad Museum when you listen in Laser Light Cannon. You can hear that like briefly when Rose's light cannon comes into frame. So they've been doing this groundwork for so long. Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, it's there's a lot of stuff to look back on. I think it's hard to differentiate between that and other potential things because like Connie has diamonds in her eyes, so now she's white diamonds. So that's clear. That's clear.
Oh man, leave Connie alone, okay?
Hey, Jungle Moon, man. Her mom
right?
was
Why in Jungle
Moon? Means something.
Of course, Rose is a villain. She has a giant penny in her lair. Ugh.
No, that means she's the hero because she's Batman.
I'm sorry. She's the hero. Of course she's the hero because she's got a giant penny in her lair. It was so obvious.
It's
Looking
so
at
obvious,
his face.
Why didn't we see it all? Okay. I mean, we're going to be looking back at all these things now. Okay, so we've learned that, no, I can't recap all the ridiculous things, but yeah, I'd love to hear, I feel like we're not going ridiculous enough. Give me your Connie is White Diamond. Give me stuff like that, because this, it's in play. It's in play here. I'm telling you. We're going to have something crazy and everyone's like, why weren't we thinking for all these crazy things before? Okay, so thank you, you all for sending your feedback for this. We still have a bunch of things to get to, so we'll probably do another one of these. But we'll see when the next episodes come. Any final thoughts from anyone on anything we're talking about?
I changed my mind. Pearl's bad. Not Pearl, Rose is bad.
What? You were so vehemently arguing she was not bad
for the
before.
sake of like discussion, you know.
What changed your mind?
I'm like, yeah, you know, maybe she's the hero in her own story. I wouldn't go as far as to say she's a villain, but I don't think like she did some bad things and she didn't do some like things. I don't know. I just bought more and more into thinking about like, yeah, she was pretty selfish. Yeah, this was pretty
I've convinced Beatrice. I win now. Okay, that's good.
You can do bad things without being a bad person. I'm gonna stay here.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I strongly think she's flawed, and I don't know. I just basically put myself in Steven's shoes and was like, oh God, my mom was like not that good of a person. Okay, there you go. That's my sentence. She's not that good of a person. That is my stance.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
I think that's
are
clear.
any of us really?
Okay.
Steven
None of
is.
us are good.
Don't you talk about my
Steve,
space son in any other way.
Steven and Connie. There you go. And Peridot. They're the good people. And Lapis and Garnet, and they're our heroes. They're all Amethyst. Yeah. Where's our Amethyst episode? Please, let's.
I mean, with Pearl, like she also hid things for a long time, like that whole friendship arc, like that's pretty much just Rose rubbing off on her.
Yeah, I mean, but bad influence on Pearl was biologically in terms of the biggest lie. She could not say that secret, but yeah.
Question. Oh, sorry. Go for it.
I was going through my Tumblr, and one of my very first posts in the Steven Universe tag on my Tumblr was, "There's a lot you don't know about Gem, Steven," and then in all caps, "Why don't you try telling him sometime, Pearl?" And then I reblogged it, and I was like, this did not age well. This did not age well.
Not Pearl's fault.
Wait, so you're saying it's better that Steven remained innocent, or
no? Because the line is in the first season. There's a lot you don't know about Gem, Steven, and then my response to that was, "Well, why don't you try telling him sometime, Pearl?" Because she couldn't.
We've absolved Pearl with these episodes. Most importantly, Pearl is still fine. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Let us know what your thoughts on any of this were. Then we'll get into it again. Comments on overlyanimated.com, comments in our YouTube video, and we'll keep digging into these episodes. I'm going to stake my claim that we'll be getting more episodes in either June or July, despite Cartoon Network's scheduling of other shows and not this show. I think that's happened before. So
they actually uploaded these episodes to the press website like a week ago, which is way faster than they usually do. So not the new ones. Oh my God, no, not the new ones. Sorry, the old ones.
Yeah, good. That's good. On top of it, okay. Yeah. So
it's like they aired a month ago, and what's that? I don't know.
Yeah. It's been like 3 weeks. I feel
it feels much longer. But we'll give all new era of Steven Universe. What is your thoughts? KK, give us the information again on Beach City Con. What's that website?
www.beachcitycon.com. We are at Beach City Con, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter. You can get $5 off your weekend passes with full code OVA. Grace Rolex is going to be our Connie Maheshwaran is going to be our guest of honor. Pretty excited, and it's in October this year. Come see us.
Yes, go, and please ask Grace whether Connie is White Diamond. Let's do this.
I will. Oh, and by the way, she turns 21 the week before the con, so I'm not going to say that I'm not going to buy Connie Maheshwaran a drink, but I'm not going to say it.
I got to. Yeah, nice.
Does she drink durian juice in real life?
I will put it on the list. I think so.
Does anyone drink durian juice in real life?
Some people. Okay. So, go use OVA, the discount. And thank you so much, KK, for joining us here. A lot of great takes on this. I thought this was a great discussion, everyone. Overlyanimated.com, our Discord, overlyanimated.com/Discord, and support us via Patreon, patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you very much to all of our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, John, aka Garfield, and thanks as always to our patron executive producers, John, Ryan, Steve, Alex, Andy, and Hugh. A little bit of a quiet period for us at overlyanimated.com. I think we have 0 current shows currently airing new episodes. I don't know, maybe DuckTales. There's a DuckTales podcast up recently. And make sure you check out the Agoretsuko podcast that Beatriz hosted, OKKO, all that and more. I think Beatriz is hosting a Incredibles retrospective in anticipation of the new movie that's coming up soon. So find all that.
Coming in like 2 weeks.
Yes, very excited for Incredibles too. Find all that at overlyanimated.com. Thank you guys very much for listening. We will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Bye.
Miss you, Lapis.
You said that
Love you,
last time.
Lapis.
Don't encourage him. Okay.